Good morning, everyone, from Atharva Institute of Management Studies, and I welcome you all to IT Talks. IT Talks and IT Awareness Programming powered by internal Quality Assurance Cell. Through this, we have arranged this IT Awareness Program initiated by us. We students and faculties of the IT department tries to reach out everyone within the institute as well as outside the institute, where we will discuss general topics related to IT and tries to clear all the doubts. That's why we think there is need of IT awareness in India and we want to share our knowledge, so we invite people who can tell us more. Well, my name is Chinmay Vanmali. I'm a student of Atharva Institute of Management Studies and a techno enthusiast. Well, in the previous episode, which was episode number 6, ma'am discussed us about immigration fraud. Miss Reshma ma'am shared the knowledge on immigration fraud. And now we are excited to introduce IT Talk Show episode number 7. In this, we will try to make this experience more enjoyable and informative to all. And with that, I'm honored to introduce Miss Reshma Mathur to be part of the show. So let me introduce our speaker. Well, Miss Reshma Mathur. Royal Vista Immigration is led by Miss Reshma Mathur. Ms. Reshma Mathur is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant and a member in good standing with the Immigration Consultant of Canada Regulatory Council. She is an Oath Commissioner, Ontario, and a member of Canadian Association Professional Immigration Consultants. She is graduated from the Immigration Consultant program with honors and after rigorous screening process obtained professional license to practice and a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Well, Ms. Reshma Mathur is recognized by the federal government organizations including the Department of Citizenship and Immigration Canada, which is CIC, the Immigration Refugee Board IRB, and Canadian Border Service Agencies, as well as provincial and territorial government to represent and counsel the clients regarding the Canadian immigration applications. Ms. Reshma Mathur has completed the Canadian course of education agents offered by ICEF, Languages Canada, and the Canadian Association of Public School International with the support of Canadian Consortium for International Education. Ms. Mathur is a former teacher and counselor and was a member of Ontario College of Teachers. Ms. Reshma Mathur understands the need of families, business people, and professionals who are interested in exploring new opportunities in different countries and provides professional and personalized services through counsel and representation in all immigration and citizenship matters. It's an honor to have you on the show, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chinmay. Thank you for inviting me and hosting this immigration webinar today. I hope it helps all our viewers who are watching this show today. We can begin.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So let's begin with today's topic. So the topic is why study in Canada, how the process works, common mistakes, and most important reasons for refusal. So let's quickly begin with the first question. Ma'am, please tell us something about why students should choose to study in Canada. What are the top reasons and learning environment they can expect over there?
Very interesting and very important question, Chinmay, because it's an amazing adventure and experience of a lifetime. So you want to pick the best. But before anything else, I would like to say that this is an information session. It's to guide you, but it's not case specific. It's not a case specific legal advice. You can contact me by phone or WhatsApp at 905-226-1929 or at royalvistaimmigration.com for case specific inquiry or to for me to assess your eligibility and the options that you may have. So let me tell you that Canada consistently ranks as one of the best countries in the world, and it's currently number one best country for quality of life, where you'll receive an internationally recognized education which is more affordable than other countries like the US. Canada has 10 of top 250 universities worldwide. It's considered the safest countries in the world for international students. Canadian classrooms are diverse and very multicultural. So international students, they feel at home, and it's a very warm and friendly learning atmosphere. Teachers and professors are very inclusive and supportive. You can find students from different ethnic origins, religions, and beliefs. Canadian universities offer more than 15,000 undergraduate and graduate degree programs, as well as professional degree programs, diplomas, and certificates in
Yes.
a very wide range of disciplines. So, and there is another important thing is you get an opportunity to stay in Canada after graduation, after you have completed your studies. You are eligible to transition from temporary residence to permanent residence, TR to PR. And this is another significant reason why students want to come to Canada, because of the pathways to permanent residence. So international students also have the opportunity to work during their studies, which can help them financially. So there are several reasons why they want to come to Canada to study, and these are all very beneficial for them.
Right. Next, I would like to ask, if someone decides to apply for a student permit, when can he apply? What is the first step to apply?
Yes, so the first step is to apply to a designated learning institution. A DLI is an approved institution by the government. After getting the acceptance letter and paying the tuition fees or the deposit, because every institute has their own different policy, after that you can apply. They have all different requirements. Institutes have different requirements, and it also varies from country to country. And if you're applying from outside Canada, then you apply from your home country, and the study permit can be extended from inside Canada, from within Canada, but you have to apply from your own home country.
All right. Talking about eligibility criteria, like what are the eligibility criteria to get a study permit for Canada, and what are the requirements?
Well, you can study in Canada if you are enrolled at a designated learning institution, a DLI. If you can prove you have enough funds to pay for your tuition, for your living expenses, for your return transportation for yourself and any accompanying family members. You have
Yes.
to obey the law. You should not have any criminal record. You should be in good health. You have to get a medical exam and also a police exam if required. And very important requirement is to prove to the immigration officer that you will leave Canada after your study permit expires. That's a very important requirement. So this is
Absolutely.
basically, these are all the eligibility criteria that you have to fulfill.
Absolutely, ma'am. Like, next question I would like to ask, like, what are the documents that are required in this application process?
Absolutely, you have to be prepared with several crucial documents for applying, which include, but may not be limited to, proof of acceptance to the proposed program of study at a DLI or a designated learning institute. You should have your proof of identity, your passport, your language test results, financial documents for
Yes.
proving the financial stability. You may also need a letter of explanation about why you want to study in Canada and why you have opted for that particular program. You may need a statement of purpose or an explanation to show what are your future plans after you complete that particular program. What do you intend to do after completing that? So all these documents you'll have to provide.
Okay. So, ma'am, do we get a study permit once the application is approved?
All new study permits are issued at a Canadian port of entry. An applicant who has submitted the application to a foreign Canadian visa office will be issued a letter of approval. A port of entry letter of introduction that says that you are allowed to study in Canada. This letter is not your study permit. This will only advise you to travel to a Canadian port of entry where your study permit will be issued. You will need to bring this letter with you You have to show it to the border services officer when you arrive in Canada. You will also
Yeah.
get an electronic travel authorization, an ETA, or a visitor visa, a temporary resident visa to enter Canada. So basically, on arrival, when you are at the port of entry, the border services officer must be satisfied that you have valid, legitimate purpose, you have all the documents, that you will comply with all the immigration rules and guidelines, you have the valid travel documents such as passport, you have enough funds, you are in good health, you have no criminal or immigration related convictions, then the study permit is issued. So when you arrive in Canada, to arrive, you'll have to convince the officer that you have ties in your home country, such as a home, a job, or a job offer after completion of your course, and
All
financial
right.
assets, your family ties, and yes, you must have your immigration medical exam results. Those results must be valid the day you enter Canada. These exams, medical exams, are valid for 12 months from the day you get it. So your exam, if your exam will expire before you enter Canada, you will have to get another medical exam. This applies even if your letter of introduction is still valid. Another important factor is inadmissibility. You can be inadmissible for different reasons, like involvement in criminal activity, for human rights violations, for some organized
Yes.
crime, for security, health, or financial reasons. Also, remember your study permit is not a visa, it does not let you enter Canada. You may need a visitor visa or an electronic travel authorization ETA to enter Canada. If your study
Absolutely.
permit is issued, then you will be issued a visitor visa with that permit. So basically, study permit is a document that allows foreign nationals to study at the DLI, at the designated learning institution. Bear in mind, your passport must be valid till the period or duration of your study, plus at least 90 days. Otherwise, your authorization will be valid only until the validity of your passport. So these
Yes.
are all the important things you have to keep in mind.
Well, talking about study permit, ma'am, how long can the student stay in Canada with a study permit? Like, is it the last day when he completes the study program?
Um, so Chinmay, a study permit is usually valid for the length of your study program, plus additional 90 days, which lets you prepare to leave Canada or to apply to extend your stay. If you don't finish your courses before the date of your permit, then you must apply to extend your stay as a student.
All right. Can the student go back home while he or she is studying?
Yes, absolutely. The student can leave Canada, can go back to the home country during the studies, but he'll have to show the proof that he's enrolled in a school in a DLI when he returns to Canada. If you have a visitor visa or ETA, electronic travel authorization, it must still be valid when you return to Canada. But he can definitely go during his study period.
All right. Like there are many people interested in studying in Canada, ma'am, but have a family, spouse, children. So should they apply together, or like can the spouse get work permit over there?
Very good question, and very frequently asked, very common question. Many people have concerns with this, whether they should
Yes.
apply with or without family. I'm glad you asked this. See, if your spouse is already established or working in the home country, you don't have to basically worry about anything about settling down in the new country. Um, but more important is that this thing, if the family stays back in the home country, it convinces the officer that you will return to your home country because your application is a temporary resident application. So you have to show to the officer there is some motivation, some intention for you to return to your home country. But if you are taking your family along with you, basically you are taking all your ties along with you to Canada. Everybody is going
Yes.
together. The big question is whether you will come back. You're all going there together. So application becomes stronger if you apply for your own study permit first. Negative aspect will be that you'll be separated from your family, spouse, or children, maybe for a long period. Maybe the visa
Yes,
is
of
not approved
course.
later. So that is a factor to be considered. But your visa may be refused because of the reason that everybody is going together and you have no ties back home. But if you do apply it and if you do get it, then your spouse can get open work permit, and that will be very beneficial, of course, for both of them. If your spouse has a visitor visa, then the spouse can come to Canada later or accompany the main applicant, and then can apply from inside Canada for the open work permit, for the spouse open work permit. So it will depend on the financial background, other ties in your home country, how you should apply. But it is definitely like a negative factor if everyone plans to go together. There are advantages as well as disadvantages. So once you get your study permit, then you can apply for your accompanying dependent. If your spouse gets the open work permit, then this allows the spouse to work in any company or in any profession, and the children can also study in Canada. The spouse
Okay.
can gain Canadian work experience, which can help them in applying for PR. This can also help them in their getting additional points for CRS for the express entry. So if you're enrolled in a publicly funded institution, then you don't have to pay international fees for your children. So
All right.
Chinmay, basically your question has highlighted another strong point for coming to Canada as a student, because if you have a family, your spouse can get an open work permit, is free to work in any
Yes.
profession, and has an open work permit. Your children can get free education. You gain work experience in Canada, and it will help you to file your future PR application. So another benefit is there.
Absolutely. That's really good to know that spouse can get open work permit. Well, next I would like to ask, like, what about the work opportunity for students? Like, our students are allowed to work there?
Yes, of course. Students can earn while they learn if they have a
Okay.
valid study permit. It can even help you immigrate to Canada after you graduate, like I mentioned before. There are many ways to work in Canada while you complete your education, which is on-campus work, off-campus work, co-op placements, internships, and full-time post-secondary students can work off-campus without a work permit for up to 20 hours a week during a regular academic session, and full-time during regularly scheduled breaks between the academic sessions. So this work authorization is valid only for the period for which they hold the study permit at the institution during their enrollment period.
Sorry.
International students are eligible for post-secondary co-op work. They can perform the work which is essential part of a post-secondary academic, vocational, or professional training program offered by the DLI in Canada. And all these open work, these co-op permits are all open work permits. So they have many options to work while they are studying in Canada, and they also postgraduate work permit.
All right. Ma'am, please tell us if students can continue to work after the completion of their study program. Like, can they get a work permit after their graduation?
Yes, just like I mentioned, they can apply for post-graduation work permit, as the Government of Canada program allows students who have graduated from certain post-secondary schools to get practical work experience in Canada. And you can get a work permit after you graduate, depending on the length of the program. So this Canadian work experience can help you qualify for permanent residence in Canada through express entry, through the Canadian Experience Class, CEC, or the
Yes.
Provincial Nomination Program. It can help you get extra points in your CRS, the Express Entry. Remember, all DLIs and programs are not eligible for PGWP. So you must find out if the institution is eligible for that or not. If you study in a private college, then you'll not get a work permit, because this has happened with many students. Once they come here, they realize that the institution they are studying at, they are not eligible for getting the work permit after they complete their studies. So you have to do a good research, a good due diligence, find out everything before you apply to any college or university.
Well, for viewers, we have learned about the benefits of studying in Canada, the process, the steps involved, eligibility criteria, documents, and other helpful information. Ma'am, please tell us about something about the problems any applicant might face, like the mistake the students might do, especially when applying, and the reasons for refusals. What else should we be careful about?
Good question. Students should be aware of common mistakes and important factors, things that may jeopardize the outcome of their application, because there are many challenging issues. Most important is that the officer will see why you want to come to Canada to study, and also to ensure that you will leave Canada after your study period. If the purpose is legitimate and genuine, is the program something that will be beneficial for you, maybe something that's not available in your home country? You'll have to show proof of financial funds for study and living expenses. Now, if you're a young adult, maybe planning to study in Canada after high school, you don't have any travel history, you don't have any assets, no property, none of these things. You have to explain clearly why you haven't traveled before. Explain clearly that you will exit after your program. You have to link your proposed plan of study with your background, with your educational background, with your work experience. You have to show that if you have visited any other country, if you have traveled, that you have obeyed the laws, you did not overstay, and you basically have to have a good study plan also to show that it's in line with what you want to study now. See, if you have already done a master's level program and now you want to come for a lower level course, then it creates a suspicion in the eyes of the officer why he wants to do that. Is the intention really to study or just to come to Canada? It should be for better career prospects. It should not be a duplicate of what you've already done. The same program, the same kind of thing you want to come and do here again. It shouldn't be that. If you have, if you had a commerce program in school, or whatever program, whatever studies you have completed, you had commerce and now you want to come and do something in the field of IT or maybe science. So that's a big mismatch. So your course selection is also very important. You have a hospitality background, now you want to come for some health and social science program or some accounting program. So it doesn't really match. You should be either be able to explain the skills transferability factor, that how whatever I have done is in line with what I want to do with the proposed study of program. So a strong explanation is required for that. And you may want to change the field of study. Maybe you want to do something else. You were doing something else, but you don't really like it. Now your interest has changed. You want to do something else when you come to Canada. But there's always a possibility to change the program once you are in Canada. So pick a program which is more in line, more a match with what your educational background or your career was already. And later when you come here, you always have the option to change it. But that's also very important. Then your financial background, your funds. If you think you will get a work permit here, you can work 20 hours per week. What's the need of showing any more funds? As it is, I'll be earning there.
Yeah,
So that's a big drawback
absolutely.
also, because that can lead to a refusal. You have to show that you have enough funds. You have to show that you will go back. These things are all very important, because bear in mind, even if you intend to immigrate to Canada, after your studies, because most students want to do that. And even the officer knows that you intend to do that, because there are many pathways for doing so. But what if you don't complete your studies? What if you don't comply by all the rules? Then what are the chances that you will return to your country? They don't want you to just overstay like that. So you have to be, you should have sufficient funds, and you should have a good plan to show that you will go back. You have to prove that. All the factors have to be considered to prepare a strong application. That's why your financial stability, proving that you return to your home country, all these are very important. You should have a good explanation about how this program that you're going for will help you for better job prospects, how it will enhance your career. And if you're enrolled in a full-time program, again, like I said, don't need to show any funds, because you'll be working.
Yeah.
So that's again important. Explain whatever best you can to satisfy the officer, convince him about all these things. And another factor for refusal is a fake agent, because it's all about your career, it's your money, your life. So just don't waste it by
Absolutely.
seeing fake agents. Contact a licensed and a regulated professional to help you, unless you are applying on your own, which also you can do. Lastly, needless to say, if you provide misleading false documents, then your visa may be refused, or if there are any criminal convictions. But your study permit should not be refused based on your study gap or age. These are not the factors for refusal. You can have a study gap. Maybe you are a mature student, maybe you are in your 40s, 30s, and if you think I won't get a study permit, these are not the reasons for refusal. They may impact to a certain extent, but you can always explain everything in your application with your supporting letters, with why you want to study, why there was a study gap. Incomplete applications may also be rejected. So whether you want to apply for a study permit, you need help with course selection, help with admission process, medical insurance, we can help you with everything. And if you have had any refusals earlier, then we can help you create a strategy to reverse the decision, because officers must be satisfied that the applicant is bona fide and will leave Canada at the end of the period that he is authorized for the stay in Canada. So we look at all the case laws, all the regulations, and address all the issues. There are different options that you have after refusal. I would like to tell you a little about that. If your case has been refused, your visa has been refused, first option is reconsideration. It's a non-formal process, and that's why the officers sometimes don't even consider it, because it's non-formal. Another option is judicial review, for which the lawyer might charge exorbitant fees. It's a very time-consuming and expensive option. Still, the judge might not reverse the decision. And lastly, the option you have is reapplying. With a stronger application. Like if you know the issues, we can order officers' notes, and we can find out what were the reasons for refusal, and we can address those issues in the new application. So all that can be done, and if you need any help with that, then we can help you with that.
All right. We have got a question over here. Like, what question asked for student visa by visa officers of Canada?
What questions asked?
For student visa by visa officers of Canada.
All that I just told you, your reasons to stay, all those were the questions that you can expect at the border. They will look at your medical. We'll be coming. I'll probably come to that point also. But these are the things they will. Most important is where you are going to study. What is your plan when you come to Canada? What do you intend to do? How this course that you are going for will benefit you when you go back to your home country? Do you have a job offer there? Were you already working? So these are basically, they want to know what is your plan when you come here and whether you'll return to your home country or not. So all these questions that I just told you, all those factors will be considered at the border when you come in. And they'll also, of course, look at your credentials, your medical exam. All these things will also be seen. You have to be aware about what exactly you are doing, why you are coming here.
All right. So next question I would like to ask, being an Indian, so is there a separate stream for students from India or a different application process?
Yes, there is a stream called SDS, or Student Direct
All
Stream.
right.
And so, yeah, there are two streams, a regular one, and then for India, you also have a SDS stream.
Okay. Can you please tell us a little about it?
Sure. You may be eligible to apply for a Canadian study permit through this SDS or Student Direct Stream. If you live in certain countries like India, China, Morocco, Pakistan, Senegal, Philippines, and Vietnam. But if
Yep.
you're a resident of another country, even if you're a citizen of one of these countries that I just mentioned, then you must apply through the regular study permit application process. Once you submit your biometrics and show that you meet all the eligibility requirements, that's when the processing begins. International students applying through SDS Canada, they are required to show proof of funds. They have to pay full tuition for the first year of their studies. You will need a receipt from the DLI confirming the payment of tuition fees, as well as the person must have acceptance letter from the designated learning institution in Canada, the DLI. You have to get upfront medical exam, and you should have the confirmation document. You should have guaranteed investment certificate, GIC, of 10,000 Canadian dollars. You should have proof of graduation from Canadian curriculum or high school or equivalent. You should have language test showing either a score of 6 in each category of IELTS or a score of at least 7 for French. So to tell you briefly about a little about GIC, GIC is a Canadian investment that has a guaranteed rate of return for a fixed period of time. And many banks offer this, like to name a few, CIBC, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC, Desjardins, HSBC, Bank of Canada, ICICI Bank, RBC Royal, SBI Canada, and Scotia Bank. So all these offer GICs.
All right. Ma'am, any advice you would like to give to the students during this pandemic, the COVID-19 situation, which may impact their processing or travel?
Yes, as we know, as of now, I mean, flights to Canada from India and Pakistan have been banned for a month due to the rising cases. And operation of VAC or visa application centers has also been impacted because of the curfew and the lockdowns. All these may delay your process. Biometrics has also been delayed. Due to COVID-19, international students wishing to travel to Canada should regularly consult Canada's travel requirements and the restrictions for international students. And this site is maintained by Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, IRCC. And this is updated frequently, so you should keep checking for all the updates. You should check the mandatory quarantine, COVID-19 testing and other requirements also. Before you travel to Canada, make sure that you know about all the rules, what you need to do before and after you arrive. So yeah, basically just, follow those updates and keep a check through that website to see what's going on.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, we have discussed about why study in Canada, how the process works, common mistakes and reasons for refusal. With that, I would like to thank Ms. Reshma Mathur ma'am for giving us her valuable time and having an impactful discussion today. Also, I would like to thank Sri Sunil Rane sir, Executive President, Atharva Group of Institute, Dr. R.G. Ratnawat sir, Director AIMS, and Dr. Shubhilal Agarwal ma'am, Director Internal Quality Assurance Cell, IQAC, Atharva Institute of Management Studies for guiding and avail a chance to introduce IT Talks show to all. Ma'am, you want to say something?
Well, I would like to thank you all. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for letting me share whatever I could today, and I hope it's helpful for all the viewers. You can also get in touch with me if you want, if you have any further questions. I've already given you my number. My website is royalvistaimmigration.com. And I would like to thank the director of Atharva Institute of Management, Dr. R.J. Ratnawat, Dr. Shubhilal Agarwal, team of IT Talks. Thank you, Chinmay. Thank you for your time. And it was a pleasure being here with you today for this online session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all for joining us, and stay tuned for the upcoming IT Talk Show episode number 8. Till then, thank you.